Family Guy content is everywhere, and it's worse for you than pornography. Now, you might think this is a stretch, but let's take a look. You cannot go on YouTube or TikTok without coming across endless content of Family Guy clips. Now, on YouTube, this is usually in the source of Family Guy funny moments compilations, but on TikTok, it's in a much more evil, devious form.
Sorry, I never told you I had a son. Some guys get scared off.
No, that's great. I'm terrific with kids.
And what is that form but a clip of Family Guy, and underneath it is an iPhone game, which are already meant to be highly addictive forms because they exist to get ad content off of children and stupid adults. So when you combine it, it is now maxing out attention. What does this tell us about the type of people who watch Family Guy funny moments? It is an indulgence in the lowest drives. Now, I've spoken before about how much distaste I have for Seth MacFarlane. And that being said, David Lynch has been on his shows, so maybe I'm missing something, but I can't stand it. Now, we are engaging generally in overstimulation when we use the internet. And really, the truth is that there are many types of drives that want to be stimulated. And one can even look at it as a sort of energetic IQ, where there are low drives, which is Family Guy and iPhone games and a lot of video games, and then mid and high, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So I said that this was worse than pornography. Why is that? Well, with pornography, generally there's a feeling of guilt, a feeling of shame. You know that you're doing something dirty or wrong. When you are mindlessly watching hours of Family Guy clips and playing iPhone games, you don't know. You don't know because you've been tricked into thinking, I misspoke. You've been tricked into not thinking. So this is, in my myth of the internet, Moloch. This is the god of overstimulation, the god of mindless entertainment. And this is what you engage with when you are watching Family Guy funny clips. You are giving over your attention, your time, your energy to your very, very lowest impulses, your absolute lowest impulses. So Family Guy is already a show that is taking a step down from something like The Simpsons, where there's not really plots. It's just funny moment, funny moment, funny moment, and it's constant shift. And of course, TikTok is like the medium that ups this infinitely, but it's telling you that even a show that is made for people with low attention spans takes too much attention for you. It's horrid. It's disgusting. But let's get to mid content. So I see mid content as content like Rick and Morty, where Rick and Morty believes itself to be very smart. It's very caught up in its own intelligence, and this was the source of a lot of the Rick and Morty hate that came after the initial popularity of the show, where, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to watch Rick and Morty. And Rick and Morty takes itself seriously. So when we see clips of Rick and Morty on TikTok or on YouTube, it's often like emotional moments, deep moments, or witty gotcha moments. And this is also the type of content that things like BoJack Horseman, which is so, in the culture, so disgustingly convinced of its depth, when it's not. It's nothing. Video game clips, cutscenes from video games, where it's like, bro, this makes me cry. Like, the things that people feel emotional over in our modern generations, these are kids, and I'd imagine I'd even say you guys watching this are kids who laugh at executions on Live Leak, and you weep at video game cutscenes. This is the level of emotional stunting that leads to people thinking that Adventure Time and BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty are the peak of emotional depth. It's sad. Now, this type of mid content, as in the meme, the bell curve meme, the mid content is utterly convinced that it is extremely high. And when we relate it to the ego, because the Family Guy content is pleasing to the id, this content is pleasing to the ego because these are popular programs where, you know, you can find a lot of other fans, you can talk about it with people, you can make memes about it with people, because, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're part of the smart guys. You're in with the cool guys. It's not this, of course, but now we need to get to what you really do have to have a very high IQ to enjoy. Xavier Renegade Angel. Now, Xavier Renegade Angel is not very popular, but one can realize what its role is. When you look back, there were, about a year ago, there were a lot of really popular memes of Rick and Morty versus Xavier Renegade Angel. And Xavier is a show by a Brooklyn art collective, PFFR. And it's about a spiritual seeker who's furry. He has a beak and a snake hand, and he plays the flute, and his legs are broken backwards, and he has like 6 nipples, and he travels the wastes of the world, engaging in extraordinarily bizarre adventures. Now, he speaks. I'd asked PFFR about this. They cut out the pauses in the natural rhythm of language to make the show so fast. In television, there's something called jokes per minute, and Xavier actually has the highest JPM out of any TV show. Now, all of this you might be thinking, well, MemeAnalysis, you are saying that overstimulation here is a sign of high intelligence, and that's not exactly what I'm saying. But I think a good comparison would be the schizo memes. I did a video on the Hyperborea edits with the somebody that I used to know sped up, and I said that these actually reflect the experience of using the internet, the experience of a conspiracy, of a lot of knowledge that isn't strongly linked yet in the mind, but it's all present. But, you know, in movies and in TV, this is depicted as the guy with the Post-it notes and the threads linking photographs. But now we have, you know, visual representations of it that are actually doing a pretty good job. And I think Xavier does a good job at showing what a person with kind of a high, not necessarily intelligence, but a high spiritual or mental inclination experiences when they go online and pay attention. It's what you have to experience. It's just constant flow, this constant, endless flow. And it's insane. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that this is the experience. So I'd actually been to a showing of Xavier with PFFR in Queens. And I said, you know, you guys were just barely ahead of your time. If your show had been on just a few years later, it would have taken over the internet. It would have been perfect internet content. And they said, you know, you're telling us, man, like we know we'd made this thing, and it's, I think, only now just starting to get any appreciation. I'm a big fan of it, and I don't think that makes me smart. I'm not saying that, just that it's engaging in a higher form of drive than Rick and Morty or Family Guy. Now, all of this is a question of overstimulation. Overstimulation as the enemy. In a lot of my previous videos, and as I started this video, I've talked about pornography and the danger that pornography represents to the internet user because it saps the libido. But in a lot of ways, this is a more dangerous beast, a more dangerous drive is Moloch. It's because it saps your very liveliness, it saps vitality itself, because to have love, to have relationships, to have friendships, you need to make a life that is energetic. You need to make a life that is worth living. And the life that is filled with Family Guy funny moments is not worth living. I'm sorry to tell you, but you cannot live through entertainment. You cannot give your life over to entertainment. You need to live it yourself. Just like you can't choose to not have sex, you can't let pornography be your only satisfaction without becoming a very deeply sick person. You can't let video games be your life. You have to find a way to live. And how do I do this meme analysis? How do we do this? Well, I am going to unveil a mystery. For almost 2 years now, the website has been out, and I've found a few people have gotten the secret, one of the secrets of the myth of the internet. And it is that the four monsters, which is the spider, Moloch, the Minotaur, and the alien, are an inversion of the good four. And now, what are the good four? So the four angels, which on a tarot card or even on a lot of Bibles you'll find, they are the cherubim. They are the four angels that surround the throne of God, and they represent the four elements, or the four fixed signs. And in dark, spooky magic, in Kabbalah, we find that the inversion of them is called the Gamaliel. This is the dark form of those four angels. And the dark form that Moloch is, to me, is the inversion of Taurus. Now, each of these angels has a virtue in magic. And what is the virtue of Taurus but to keep silent? To keep silent. Now, Moloch says, constant overstimulation. Watch this, do this, do this. You know, it's not just that I'm watching TV. It's that I'm going to watch TV, I'm going to have a game playing under it, I'm going to have music playing, I'm also going to be playing a video game, I'm also going to be vaping, I'm also going to be eating, and I'm going to be doing this all at the same time because I'm going insane, because I have altered my life and my body to be reliant on constant overstimulation that you are not actually doing. You're not doing it. You are taking in all of these external stimulus to avoid actually doing anything yourself. So what is the solution? To keep silent. I'm sure some of you found even that brief moment unbearable. The briefest moments of silence are unbearable. Now, Blair at What It Is has talked about with me, and I believe in some of his videos, the need for popular content on YouTube and TikTok to have a high viewer retention rate in the first few seconds. And so basically, if you are not overstimulated within the first few seconds of a video, you're going to stop watching it. This is true of 90% of you. Maybe the 10% of you have watched my videos before. Maybe you're aware you're going to get stimulated by them. But you need overstimulation. You could be at a museum looking at a painting. You know, YouTube is a medium that relies on the overstimulation of the drives. All of the internet is. And the internet is ultimately a storm. It is a storm of stimulus, and you will be swept up in it. You most likely are swept up in it. And the only way to survive it, to not be a victim to it, is to keep silent. I discovered the myth of the internet and the 4 vices that damage people the most when they use it through memes. And that is because memes matter.